Hi guys, I'm Shmi. Hello and welcome back to the channel where this is something special. This is something I have been looking forward to, and today is the day to take a first look at the brand new ZENVO Aurora. This is ZENVO's new V12, yes, you heard that right, hybrid hypercar, and this thing is mind-bending. Now we're looking at the Aurora Agile for agile, for track, one of two versions we're going to be seeing today of the car that simply boggles the mind. And as an owner of what is now technically the predecessor, the TSRS, I've known about this thing for a while, and I've known it was going to be a game changer. The engine is a bespoke Mahle 6.6 litre quad turbocharged V12 that puts out, combined with 3 electric motors, get this, 1,850 horsepower. Now, as well as Agile, we're going to be going through everything today, the exterior, the aero, the engine, some of the stats, and checking out the interior in detail. We're here after hours at the customer preview evening where we've got an opportunity to take a look at these, because also this is Aurora Tur, the road version, completely different bodywork. There are 4-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive configurations available for the ZENVO Aurora, and we need to go through this. Let's take a first look at the brand new, incredibly exciting ZENVO Aurora. In the build-up to the reveal, and I should add that it's about midnight right now, after the unveiling event that's been behind closed curtains, of course the world will be seeing this car at Monterey Car Week. There have been some teasers showing this new Mahle engine, and I think people were expecting a V12 to be added into a facelifted TS series car, but this is all new, and this is absolutely state-of-the-art. There are quite a few differences even between the two cars, which I want to get to, Agil and Tur, in terms of the bodywork, in terms of the powertrain, in terms of the configuration. But what you're looking at here is a car with 880 kilos of downforce at 250 kilometers per hour. That's 155 miles per hour. The bodywork is so open, it's all around the negative space. If you look through the barge boards, through the side of the car, you can see the suspension arms, you can see the components, and that's just the exterior. We're going to be going through the interior of the car as well. If I just pop open the doors to give you a little demonstration, the dihedral doors that open upwards to reveal this carbon fiber monocoque cockpit, where we have some very trick features. In fact, to give you a quick demonstration, check this out. When I press here on the steering wheel, look at the dashboard, the displays rotate and you have all of your different screens. There's a lot of this to show you. Stay tuned because it is really quite cool. Of course, the seats are directly into the tub, saving weight, keeping this thing absolutely performance and also driver experience focused. This is going to be something that will be an experience that is really hard to put into words. There are some distinct ZENVO design language features, and of course, comparing this to my own current car is something that's fascinating me, just taking it all in, the angry eyebrows over the headlights, the different shapes, the hexagonal style grille right in the very center. The colors of these two cars as well are out of this world, but these things are beyond what even I expected, and I had high expectations for what Aurora was going to be like. Let's dive into all of this in more detail. I'm focusing my attention at the moment on Agile, but I want to get a little bit closer to this car. It's the way the bodywork is shrink wrapped around everything underneath it. Look at the exposed suspension that you can see here at the front and also sitting outboard at the rear back there. But once you start really digging into this, you spot the details, the new ZENVO graphics and branding. Look at the way this piece is engineered to sit between the two halves at the front. The design language is what we've seen on previous ZENVOs. In fact, if you compare this to the headlight layout of the TSRS, it is exactly the same overall shape. But then when you come down beneath, look at those channels running straight through the car, supporting this splitter down in the very center. Of course, this is where you have some of the cooling, but only a small part of it. As we go over to Tur in a moment, you'll see how the bodywork, for example, here is actually completely different between the two cars. Similarly, with these openings that you have all around it. Like on the previous car, you have the exposed carbon fiber over the nose. Of course, the full body monocoque and more is all made from carbon fiber. The way the windshield stretches out towards the front to give it this incredible line When you come up towards the top, check this out. You have the intercooler just inside here with this very large snorkel in the roofline between the doors, obviously for the cooling towards that power plant that will sit rear mid-engined as you would expect from a car of this nature. There are multiple different powertrains though. You can choose to have your Agile, which is supplied by default as a rear-wheel drive car with a four-wheel drive option, or vice versa. The four-wheel drive Tur can be changed to a rear-wheel drive configuration should you wish. As we come round towards the sides though, look at all of these shapes. Look at how you have this body-coloured section for the upper areas with the exposed black carbon fibre that we have here for all of the aerodynamic parts, all of the real aero elements of the car. As we look down the side, these large carbon panels, as we've seen on the TS series before, you have this boomerang shape as well that wraps down to reveal again those openings that go straight through the body side of the car itself. This is a notable design feature. These free-forming power lines that you have running from the front across through the door and around towards the rear arches. You then of course come back here, all of the exposed carbon over the top, this forged carbon section, which is quite an interesting design element wrapping around towards the exhaust tailpipes, sitting back here right above the number plate area. And then again, look at the shapes of this diffuser, even function being used everywhere. For example, here inside the reverse light, this central section of the mesh is actually to house the mounting towing eye that you have tucked in there as well. And of course this massive wing at the back, this active wing that wraps around the rear of the bodywork of the car, producing some pretty immense downforce as it goes about it. Again, the tail lights, the shapes, the designs, distinctly Zenvo in so many ways, but this is a complete next generation. This is not a small shift. This is a whole new car, and my word, when you look at it, this thing is impressive. We move next to Aurora Tur. This is almost a different car, a completely simple and elegant design in comparison. Of course, sharing the carbon fiber monocoque, sharing the powertrain options, but so different because of the completely different purpose, being, as the name suggests, the touring variant of Aurora. Now, between Tur and Agile, there will be a total of 100 units to be produced, but it is Tur without the extreme aerodynamics around the bodywork, which is more focused on that top speed, capable of 280 miles per hour, with Agile limited to 217 miles per hour. That's 350 kilometers per hour. As you take a look around the Tur version though, you start to see gone are all of the openings, for example, those really extreme aerodynamic elements. In fact, even at the front, you have a change in the bodywork. The way the light units sit beneath the eyebrow line over the top, even of those, is different between the two. As you come around towards the side, you still have these distinct lines along the edge, the boomerang style, although even here it's changed in the way the styling meets down towards the side skirts. As you come around towards the back, similar story here. Of course, we no longer have the massive wing sitting back here. It's about a smoother, slipperier design, almost a completely different car. Zenvo effectively introducing two different models in one here, with customers going to have the choice between which they should prefer. You start to see a little of the interior because this car's interior is magnificent in that tan leather against this blue-green paintwork. In fact, the colours of the two launch cars have been chosen to link to the Aurora, to the Northern Lights, colours that you would see during those fantastic displays that you get out in Scandinavia. Zenvo, of course, being a Danish hypercar brand. We've seen quite a few models over the last decade or so, but this is a complete change. It really, really and truly dials things up a notch. We have got to talk about the powertrain in this car. What you find right here in the Zenvo Aurora is quite frankly remarkable. I can confidently state already that this is going to be phenomenal. A V12 in a new hypercar, and in fact, not just any V12, but one that revs to nearly 10,000 RPM. Zenvo have partnered with Mahle to produce a bespoke engine, a 6.6 litre quad turbocharged V12, an engine configuration we haven't seen for 3 decades in a production car since the Bugatti EB110. But in the case of this, the engine alone, the internal combustion engine alone, produces, get this, 1,250 horsepower. Then combine that with a new hybridized gearbox, an evolution of the 7-speed single clutch before, but now with electric reverse, an electrical assistance, and also an electric starter motor. And the driving experience in this is going to be unreal. Take all of that and combine further the 2 electric motors in the all-wheel drive configuration of the Zenvo Aurora, and you have a total power output of 1,800 150 horsepower, along with 1,700 newton meters of torque. If you're brave enough to opt for the rear-driven version alone, without the electric motors up front, through your rear wheels, you will have 1,550 horsepower. This is going to be an absolutely phenomenal drive. In fact, to give you some of the estimated performance numbers, of course, still to be confirmed, with the full all-wheel drive system, your 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, 62 miles per hour, is going to be dispatched in a little over 2 seconds. 0 to 200 kilometers an hour, 124 miles per hour, is going to be under 5 seconds. 0 to 300 kilometers an hour, 186 miles per hour, is going to be only estimated at 9 seconds. 0 to 400 kilometers an hour, 250 miles per hour, 17 seconds. I cannot wait to experience what Aurora is going to be like. As I mentioned, Tur by default is the all-wheel drive configuration. Agile by default would be the rear-wheel drive configuration, taking out some of the weight, of course, of the further electric motors to be more focused for the track. In fact, even with the electric motors, this car is estimated to come in at a little over 1,400 kilos. Agile will be a little over 1,300 kilos. Considering the technology, of course, those are some very, very light numbers. Extensive use of lightweight materials, saving bits of weight everywhere possible. And this is just a first look at these cars before we're going to be able to dive into more details about them. But I tell you what, I think it's time to pop to the interiors to show you that in more detail. There are two very different interiors between these cars, and I keep having to go there. Look at the negative space, look at the aerodynamics, the way this all looks. But I want to talk firstly about the doors, because this is no easy feat, and often it is one of the most challenging things with cars that offer this level of performance. In this case, the doors are open just here behind the B-pillar where you've got the fuel filler. You also have the opening, but take a look down towards the side skirt and you'll see the way the door opens with the entire portion, which makes it surprisingly easy to actually enter and exit the car. And of course, that's all down to the way the hinges have been engineered, effectively opening fully to make it super easy to slide on in, with a very easy access here over the carbon fiber monocoque. Now, of course, the carbon fiber monocoque offers immense strength, also keeps the car incredibly light, but even further than that are what you find inside. The fixed seating position, for example, where quite literally these pads, which again, inspired by Danish design, are super simple, are part of the carbon fiber tub. Take these out and you'll effectively still see the seat position, unlike other cars which might add additional parts on top. You'll spot the very, very small central tunnel. In fact, the cabin offers a lot of glass, a lot of sight outside, but of course is very compact to help with aero. The steering wheel is adjustable. The pedal box down there, of course, adjustable as well. But I want to focus on these dials, the dash, the display, and the interior feel. So let me step on in. And in fact, to do this holding a camera, normally a little bit of a challenge, but you'll see straight in here, take a look at this. The ZENVO Aurora. Here we are. Look again. The air conditioning vent right there across the dash. The openings you can actually see straight through from the front beneath the dashboard cross brace itself. If I show you a little bit more of the dashboard, of course in the center we have the prominent rev counter, and in fact in the current setup you have this display showcasing a very traditional look with real dials. Should you wish though to have your displays, this is where a press of the button and these will rotate. The instruments rotate, the screens then turn on, and you have a host of different displays, maps, images. Of course, this setup at the moment as a demonstration, if you want to call mum from your Aurora. The same on the right-hand side, press the button just here, and that will also rotate to give us a completely different display to illuminate and show you some of your driving information and settings. On the steering wheel itself, you have further controls and access, keeping it very simple. You'll spot currently the indicators up here on the sides as well. No stalks or ugly features that sit behind. You have further controls here through the center. And in fact, to start the car, you'll spot Thor's hammer, the ZENVO logo that we have on the start button, and of course a nod to the engine, the hammer that you quite literally have behind you. Inside, beneath the steering wheel here, is a control to forward and reverse the pedal box to adjust and shuffle that position. And over towards the doors, this is where you have your grab handle to pull them down. Of course, this being a prototype of the vehicle and being very lucky to be inside it at the moment, Look at that view. Look out towards the front, the openings where you can see the front tyres underneath the bodywork. The windscreen stretches almost endlessly actually out in front with the central wiper that you see up through the middle. The mirrors out and proud over the bodywork, giving you that almost insect-like appearance. Inside, this is one of the quite interesting elements I mentioned from outside, the snorkel here for the cooling towards the intercooler, which actually doesn't impact your interior feel at all. My instinct was that that would be quite dominating, but that's a very clever use of material engineering design. You have the Agile graphic here along with this very sporty textile material used for the seat pads in an interior that is of course keeping things simple because it's about the drive, it's about the experience on the road, it's about what the car is actually going to be like in that kind of environment. There's a button just inside here to pop open the door, to lift that back out, to pop it up. That is such a cool feeling as that moves outwards. And then of course, look at that. Obviously the gas struts here supporting it, but the way this is so open, the front tyres actually only 265 wide, but this, I'm still noticing that we're apparently in a phone call to mum here. You've got some pictures, some graphics, or if you want to go back to the analog dials, press the button and those will rotate back and give you your original displays. Let's go take a look though at the different interior on Tur. Over to the interior of Tur, and you'll spot quite how different this actually is as we pop open the door, because in here opting for the full leather interior, the tan coloured interior, but notice the seats, no stitching. The idea here is a complete change from the norm, inspired by iconic Danish design, to completely clothe the entire areas with a single piece of leather. You'll also spot the brushed aluminium used in place of the anodized black that we saw before, and again a very different look to the steering wheel. Of course also in here with these rotating instruments, and I am absolutely fascinated by these. Really cool to see in action. Now another thing I actually want to point out as we turn this back round is that you'll spot in Tur the dashboard goes to 450 kilometers per hour, up to 350 in Agile. Of course otherwise quite similar at the moment. There will be further changes to become different between the two cars, of course this being the more comfort focused vehicle, the other car being much more about keeping things light. But this is a very different take on the similar look of the interior. Here you have various of the controls, the lift system, the suspension for example, your climate control toggle up there as well, but nowhere nearly as claustrophobic as we're starting to see on some cars, keeping the idea about being able to use it, and in fact also offering further storage, which will be available and something we can see a little further down the line. We have soft close on the doors as well, but different storage compartments that will be beneath the bodywork. Another thing you might have spotted that differs between the two cars, the wheels. So we have two different wheel options that we're looking at with these two. 20-inch wheels at the front, 21-inch wheels at the rear. There will also be a carbon fibre wheel option. But one thing that's interesting with the tyres is that they are actually the limiting factor on the top speed. Michelin rate them to 450 kilometers an hour, hence the limited top speed of this. Now, as you head around towards the back, this is where it's so interesting because the cars differ immensely. The design and styling that you have here with all of the exposed carbon, the way the bodywork is smoother and more seamlessly integrated on the Tur version of the car, it's almost an impossibility to choose which of the two variants you would want to have. Maybe you just have to get both of them. Maybe that's the only solution to that one. But as we head back from Tur, back over here to Agile, the way this car sits right here in this space, Cup 2R tyres fitted, how low it is, how aggressive it is, but how cohesive it is. It feels like one car that matches. It feels so brilliantly designed. And of course, I might be a little bit biased. I'm an owner of a TSRS, but this is everything that I had hoped this car was going to be. I didn't expect as much power as it makes. I didn't expect it to rev as high as it revs, and I didn't expect it to look this epic. This is not just a small step for ZENVO. This is kind of a series of small steps and now a leap into the unknown, an absolute leap into a completely different stratosphere of hypercar. It's incredibly competitively priced compared to others in the market as well when it comes to what this actually offers. And this is almost my dream modern hypercar. To offer the performance I know this is going to be able to produce, to offer a nearly 10,000 RPM 12-cylinder engine sound, to offer extreme aero and design like this. Now, of course, there'll be a split between different people and which one they prefer. For me, Agile is just the ultimate. This is one of the coolest things I could ever imagine looking at. The amount of attention to detail, the focus on all of the different elements, and we've only scratched on the surface. Believe me, there's so much more going on here as well. The way the exhaust tailpipes slash cut inside here. Of course, this whole area, the whole setup, the way this is all shaped, the way this all actually comes together. And this is a late at night preview. Obviously, after the customer introduction, we've been able to see the covers coming off and had a first glimpse at what this car actually offers, what this car actually shows us. And every time I'm spotting another element, spotting another detail, it's just, I don't really know what else to say. It's just, look at this thing. Look at this thing. I'm not really sure what else needs to be said about this. Deliveries will start from 2026. I suppose the inevitable question, will I upgrade to one? Well, that's going to have to remain to be seen a little bit down the line. I tell you what, I wouldn't mind. I would not mind. What a thing. This has been a first look at the brand new ZENVO Aurora. There's going to be more coming soon with this, so stay tuned for plenty of updates at the global unveiling in California. Wow, wow, wow. No more words. I'm just going to sit down and take it all in. Huge congratulations to the full team at ZENVO. Of course, I've got to know everyone quite well in recent years, and this is really exciting. This is a very exciting time for a very exciting company, and believe me, big things are going to be in the works for the future. The evolution and variants that will be possible with this engine, the modular nature of it all, with the plans that they have. And this is just the real kickstart. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this first look at the ZENVO Aurora, but that's it for this time, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.